So for this class, you might want a bolster if you've got one, or some kind of cushion anyway. You might want a couple of bricks or something like that, especially if you're hypermobile in the hips. For one of the postures, at least these will be necessary or helpful, not essential. And then just something to sit on, like either a thin cushion or a thin block. And that should be everything. And we're going to start our practice choosing a seat that's really comfortable, because we're going to start with a breathing practice. And it could mean that you sit on a chair. That would be absolutely fine. Or I'm just sitting on the end of my bolster with my feet by my hips. That's quite comfortable for me. Or you might be cross-legged. Anything that allows you to feel completely at ease. Completely at ease. You can really release down through the hips. You can feel a freedom in the spine. Your shoulders can drop away from the ears. And welcome, Paul. So we're just coming to a seated position. And to begin with, if you'd like to maybe close your eyes, or at least take your gaze downwards, but without taking your chin to your chest, just a sense of delicate dignity up through the spine. Got a very sweet, quite simple, straightforward practice tonight. So let's just come into our bodies. And sometimes it takes a while to allow the attention to plunge, to drop into sensation of the body right now. It'd be absolutely normal to take some time to watch your thoughts. Maybe feel the buzz of your day, the buzz of the moon tonight. Allow everything to just come on in. And notice what's here. How do you feel in the palms of your hands? And in your wrists? Are you relaxed in the mouth and the jaw and the back of your throat? And can you release a little down through the buttocks and the hips? Maybe you have a sense of the atmosphere in your room or in your evening. The sweet stillness that we can drop into. Can you feel the air in your nostrils? Can you become infinitely curious in the sensation of air in your nostrils, as if you've only just found out that the air moves into your body and back out again? in this miraculous relationship with the space around us. Can you feel it slide down the smooth sides of your throat into your chest and out again? And can you become so absorbed in the breath that nothing else matters right now? We're going to do some alternate nostril breathing, some Nadi Shodhana. If you have a blocked nose, just keep your hands where they are and imagine the breath moving through the nostrils as I talk you through. If you don't have a blocked nose, you can lift your right hand and take the tips of the forefinger and the middle finger to the base of the thumb, or alternatively take the forefinger and middle finger to the space in between your eyebrows, whatever feels nice. And try not to use your hands to shove the face from side to side. Try and keep facing forwards. And we'll just take a very simple version of this breath, just to really balance into both sides of the brain. The left nostril tunes into our parasympathetic nervous system. This is the nostril we breathe into, we feel into when we want to really calm the whole nervous system. And the right nostril is a little bit more invigorating. So see how this goes for you. Take a lovely breath in through both nostrils. And at the top of the breath in, take your thumb to just above the nostril and exhale through the left nostril, nice and smooth. And then when you're ready, you breathe in through the left nostril. And at the top, you change the fingers around so you close just above the left nostril and you breathe out through the right. You continue. So you change the side at the top of the inhalation. And it can be very helpful to have the elbow out to the side, the right elbow, so to really feel an opening in the right lung. And if it's tiring for you, take your left hand and hold that elbow. And we're not looking to take particularly deep breaths, not looking to intervene at all, except for in closing one nostril at a time. So make the breath feather light and easy. One thing you can do if you like, if you have the room in your awareness to do so, is to notice sensation in the side of the body of the nostril you're breathing through, whether that's in or out. So you might have the sensation of the breath moving all the way up one side of the body on the inhalation and all the way down the side of the body on the exhalation. And pets are welcome. Pets seem to love us when we do yoga more than any other time. And if you find this a strain and just too much control, just drop the hand and breathe normally. Otherwise, we'll stay for a couple of minutes more. And the next time you breathe out of the left nostril, if you haven't already, dropping your hand. And just for a minute or so, sitting and breathing naturally and noticing how you feel after that alternate nostril breathing practice, one of my favorite pranayama practices. And then if you would like to join me in the first of our yin poses, which will be a butterfly. And it may well be that this is where you need to sit up on something, especially if you haven't come to these yin classes before. I know for one of you at least it's the first time. Maybe actually for two of you it's the first time. You might want to just sit on the edge of a block or a cushion just to give your pelvis a little tilt forwards. And you're going to have your soles of your feet together about a distance of about 2 lengths of your hands from the groin. And if you are hypermobile in the hips, this is where you might want to place bricks underneath your thighs so you're supported and not just hanging. And then taking your hands to your shins or your ankles, and take a breath in to just explore a little bit of length. God, the moon is incredible. A little bit of length out of in your spine. And then as you breathe out, you're just going to simply fall forwards. And we're going to stay for 5 minutes. It's a long hold. Some of you might place something under your forehead, like a brick or a cushion. Some of you might, if you're used to this pose, might want to elevate the feet a little. It can give a little bit more sensation. But really, this is a very soothing pose, just easing into the spine, gently flexing the spine and releasing all the tissues in the back of the body. So take your time to get comfortable. There should be absolutely no pain or discomfort in a pose like this. So if you're finding there's any pain or discomfort, maybe back off a little bit, maybe alter your position, alter your props. And then a little bit like at the beginning of the practice, allow your attention to plunge, to drop into sensation. Just breathing freely, breathing naturally. And please feel free to ask me a question whenever you want. You have the freedom to unmute yourselves. And it would be quite normal at the beginning of a yin posture to experience agitation, maybe in the mind, maybe a bit of the body. But you may then notice that that subsides as you drop into stillness. And if you experience any pain in the lower vertebra at all, just come a little way out of the pose. Don't put up with any pain. Really relax into the shoulders, the back of the neck. And cast your attention now around the whole body to notice where you're holding on, where you're holding tension, and invite a sense of melting into the pose, all of your tissues melting away from the bones. How soft can you become? And you have the choice with the breath tonight of allowing the breath to be free. Or if you find you've got a very active mind, my mind is racing at the moment. So what I do is I bring a count into the breath, just gently, cajoling the attention into observing the breath. So you could count in for 4, pause and allow the breath out for 4, and so on. In this final minute of the pose, choosing if you want to melt a little bit deeper, or maybe it's time to back out of the pose slightly for you. And taking 3 final breaths with the choice of, on the exhalation, breathing in as a sigh, exhaling with the mouth open. We come out very slow. Keep your chin into your chest as you unfurl your spine bone by bone. Until you're vertical, then lightly bring your head up. And take your hands behind you as you draw your knees in. Your feet can be wide apart. And just have a little lift of the chest here, little lift of the chest as you windshield wiper your knees from side to side. Just delicately. The counter pose for butterfly for a 5-minute forward fold. A little bit of release in the hips, a little bit of the opposite curve of the spine, nothing too abrupt. Lovely. Then we're going to come into another very classical, simple yin pose, which is Sphinx. You're going to lie on your belly. And some of you may want to place a blanket under the front of your pelvis, especially if you're more bony than me in that department. And start with seeing what it's like with your elbows under your armpits. And I want you to really tune into whether there's a twinging in the lower back. And if there is, take your elbows out and come down a notch. If with your elbows, we're going to stay for 5 minutes again. If with your elbows under your armpits, you're not feeling a compression at all in the lower back, and there's just nothing much going on for you, you can elevate your forearms onto blocks or a bolster. And the other way of increasing the stimulation of the lower back tissues is to just bend up your forelegs. You can relax in the neck. And it's up to you. If you find your shoulders coming up to your ears, it's not a problem in this pose, but you might want to experiment with sliding them away. And then come back to your breath. And in this pose, as well as the count, if you're counting, we can bring in a direction. So you start off with your attention in the heart space. And on the breath in, as you count, you draw the breath in down to your pelvic floor. And you pause, and it's almost as if the breath bounces off the pelvic floor and moves back up front of the spine to the heart space on the exhale. All optional, of course. The other thing you can do if you want more stimulation, but please don't feel that this is a practice where you need more stimulation, you could come into seal. You take your hands out to the side and you straighten your arms. This is not for everybody. And again, cast your attention around the body and ask yourself where you're holding on and where you can release a little deeper. Really soft at the back of your throat and behind your eyes and in the roof of your mouth. Stay very close to the breath. I think we've got about 1 more minute here. And then taking 3 final breaths, using the exhalation to open your mouth if that feels nice, and really release any residual tension. After you've taken your 3 breaths, very gently coming all the way down and taking your hands under your forehead. And you can allow your heels to just fall out to the side as you take some lovely deep breaths into the belly. Inflate your belly against the floor and feel the space you create now in the lower back, spreading maybe into the buttocks. Sometimes on a Friday night, I'm quite experimental with the practice, and tonight we're coming back to very classical yin poses. Nice long holds with a lot of attention on the breath. Please slide your hands beside your ribs and very gently push yourself to all fours. And we'll come into a child, not to stay, but just as a counter pose again. And also so I can look out the window at the moon. Really drop into the shoulders, release into the buttocks, the hips, the lower back. Lovely. And then bringing yourself up, and we're going to take a little sequence of poses on each side of the body that are focusing very much on the lower body, and then we'll come to the upper body a little bit later. So I'd like you to extend your right leg, and if you can, have your left foot by your hip. If this if this is quite uncomfortable for you, you could bring a bolster behind you. It's half saddle. The other thing you can do, if you're keeling over to the right, is wedge yourself under the right buttock, place a cushion or a block there. And you can also pull the skin over your knee, but you don't want any pain in the knee. If there's pain in the knee, I'd rather you came back into Sphinx again, the pose we did just before. And then maybe some of you can come back on your forearms. Like I said, you could lie on a bolster, the bolster coming into the nape of your back, the lower back. Some of you, we're going to stay 5 minutes. It's a long hold again. Some of you might be comfortable coming all the way back. So it would be strange if you didn't have very rich sensation on the top of the left thigh and the front of the hip. But if there's any pain in the left knee, please change position. And then I'll give you a few options and then I'll be quiet. So the first is to maybe just stay exactly as you are. If you want to explore more sensation and you're flat on your back, then slide your right foot to standing, so your right knee is in the air. And you take your right foot out to the right, and then allow the knee to drop into the left. So that's one option, a slight internal rotation of the right hip. Alternatively, you take your right ankle over the left knee and allow the right knee to fall out to the side. So experiment, find what's good for you, and then choose if you want to come back to that counting breath with that same direction. Breathe in from the heart down to the pelvic floor, and up from the pelvic floor to the heart. And really drop into the sensation, the quality of your breath with your attention. So I'm wondering, Rubina, if you're on a bolster. No. Are you comfortable? Okay. Stay very, very close to your breath. Three poses we're doing in this short sequence are targeting the spleen and stomach meridians according to traditional Chinese medicine. These are organs that are related to our sense of receiving nourishment and finding a way of feeling at home. So when they're out of balance, we can feel anxiety, malnourished. Very stabilizing poses, even if they don't feel like them when you're in them. And taking 3 of your final breaths, maybe allowing yourself to exhale with your mouth open. And then we come out super slow, and most of you will need to really engage your abdominal muscles to protect the lower back. Compress into your elbows and very, very gently come up. But keep your left leg where it is, because we're going to move straight into a baby dragon. You're going to just shift yourself forwards. So your right foot is forwards. You can slide the left knee away. This is also, if you need to, you could place your hands on your 2 bricks or your books. And we're going to stay here for 5 minutes. You could also place your forearms on a bolster if that's right. Sometimes it's really nice to place a bolster or a cushion against the back leg, so you can sink your front of your hip and thigh into that support. And 5 minutes is a long time to stay in this pose, and for some people it will be delicious, and some people will find it very challenging both to the body and the mind, and that's what yin can be about. It's quite an intense practice if you've not done it before. It's very different from the continual movement practices that we do. There's no way of escaping ourselves. And then come into your breath. And this is an excellent pose in which to inquire into where you're holding tension. And it could maybe be in the upper body. Stay close to yourself. Stay with the breath count and the direction of the breath if that's going to be part of your practice tonight. Keep observing the effects of the pose on the body and the mind and the breath. If this pose is just not accessible to you, I'm going to show you an alternative. And come onto your back and do half happy baby, where you just hold onto your right foot and draw in towards your right armpit and allow the left knee to fall out to the side. You'll get a similar hip opening experience, which might be better for your body. Got 2 more minutes. So that if you're on the back, yeah, exactly, perfect. And breathe. And stay close. When intention, when sensation is intense but not pain, we can want to escape it, but what might it be like for this final minute to really drop right into the midst of intense sensation and be there with it, in it. And then taking your 3 final breaths. Okay, if you're kneeling like me, I'd like you just to draw the right hip back and extend the right leg. If you're on your back, just extend the legs on the floor. We're gonna come straight into pigeon on the right. So if you're on your back, you might want to do pigeon on your back. If you're on your front and you know what pigeon is, I'm just going to bring the right knee forwards, slide the left leg away. So if you know that this is okay for you, with no pain in the knee, come into this pose and just allow yourself to melt forwards. You could rest your chest on a bolster. If you need to do it on the back, It has exactly the same effect on the hip, just without the little back bend. Might be much more restorative for you. You take your right ankle over the left knee. You draw your legs in towards you. You take your right hand through the gap and interlace with the left hand, either behind the thigh or over the shin. And your feet are super relaxed, your ankles are relaxed, and we stay here for 5 minutes. And any of you could take this option on the back. It's just, actually, I think I'm going to stay here. And if you're on your back and your chin juts up to the ceiling, you need to place a cushion under your head. So we're looking for a little bit of comfort there on the back. And come to your breath and drop into sensation. And breathe. And really observe what's going on in the face and the jaw and the throat and the shoulders. The more you can let go there, the more likely you can release into the hips, and vice versa. Breathe. And we've got 1 more minute. See if you want to back off a little bit, back out of the pose, or if you want to maybe drop in a little bit deeper. And taking 3 final breaths, maybe exhaling with your mouth open. And if you're on your back, it'd be really nice now just to release the legs and slide them along the floor. If you're on your front, gently coming up. And if it feels right, taking a very gentle downward dog, a soft downward dog, before joining me lying flat on your back to experience the rebound from those 3 poses on that side of the body. You can sigh, you can sing, you can groan. These poses can bring about massive release for some of us. Then we lie flat just for a while to absorb the after effect, the rebound, the residue. Can you feel a movement of sensation of tingling maybe around parts of the body? And it doesn't matter if you can't. And you could stay a little longer. But as the sensation subsides, I invite you to come to those 3 poses on the other side. So you have your right foot by your hip. Or come into Sphinx. That's when you're on your belly, on your forearms, if this is just not good for the right knee. Maybe wedge your left buttock with a block or a cushion. Maybe come back on a bolster or forearms, or come all the way back for 5 minutes on this side. And oh, it feels totally different to me. Don't know about you. And remember, you have those options with the left foot. You could stand the foot on the floor and allow the left knee to drop in. You could take the left ankle over the right knee and allow the knee to drop out. Whatever gives you the most rich but delicious sensation, nothing that's painful in the knee. And then drop into the pose and into that rhythm and count of your breath. And there's something else I can say about the breath. If you're feeling like you're just getting too sleepy and kind of low energy, lethargic, you can explore what it's like to maybe breathe in for a little bit more than your count of 4. To kind of brighten the chest a little bit with the breath in. Alternatively, if you're feeling already hyper, a bit too overactive in the mind, then you could add a few counts to your exhalation and really allow the exhalation to dissolve away, and you follow it with your attention. You don't have to do either of those things, of course. And although we're compressing the lumbar spine, if there's any pain there at all, if you feel there's any risk for your discs, then please come into Sphinx on your belly. And breathe. Where are you holding on? Where are you trying to control yourself? Can you let go? And coming to your 3 final breaths, lovely long exhalation with an open mouth. And we come up very carefully again with that slight engagement of our abdominal muscles. Take it really easy, really slow, no hurry. All movement in this kind of class, it's very slow and deliberate. And we move straight into our baby dragon. Left foot forward, sliding that right knee away. Maybe your hands are on bricks. Maybe your back knee is on a blanket or a cushion. And I don't mind if your front knee is either on top of the ankle or further forwards, but I don't want it behind the ankle like this because it'll put strain on the knee. So it's either directly above or moving forwards. Into your breath. And remember, if you were doing this on your back, you come onto your back with your left foot up in the air, pulling the knee down towards the armpit, your right knee just dropping out to the side. If that's better for you, half happy baby. Stay with the breath. Can you find your own inner stillness here and drop into it? Observe where you feel the pose. And take your attention right into the intensity of sensation if it's present for you, but not tolerating pain. Stay close. Relax into the jaw, to the neck and to the shoulders. I know baby dragon is a pose in which you're probably wondering when it's going to come to an end. We've got about 1 more minute. Always fine to come out of the pose if it's just not right for you. And taking your 3 final breaths. And if you're on your back, just extending your legs. If you're on your front, straightening that left leg, drawing the hip back just to release from the pose. And we come straight into pigeon for 5. So if you're on your back, take your left ankle over your right knee and your left hand through the gap and bring your legs in towards you. If you're on your front, we come to pigeon on the left. Remember, you can use a bolster for your chest, your head, and just check that your right leg is behind you. And then come down. And again, I should have said this on the other side. If you find that you're keeling over to one side, wedge yourself up. You could place something under the left buttock, for example. And come to your breath. Absolutely softening into the eyes, the jaw, the roof of the mouth as you melt a little. Stay close to the breath, close to sensation. This is a no frills practice tonight. Nowhere to go. Nothing to do. Can you be with yourself? Up close. Breathe. And coming to your final 3 breaths. If you're on your back, just sliding your legs away. And if you're on your front, if it feels right for you, coming into a brief downward dog. A little stretch out, and then everybody come just for a few breaths to lie on the back before we give our upper body a little bit of attention. And feel the rebound. Really observe sensation as it moves through the body now. 5-minute poses are challenging, as you probably are feeling. And the rebound can be really rich. Don't miss anything. Just a few more breaths here. When sensation subsides, when you're ready, if you'd like to join me in a seated position with your legs out in front of you. And the poses from now on are going to be 3 minutes long. And the focus is on the upper body, but we are going to come into a forward fold. So if you're somebody who finds forward folds not so good for the spine, I'm fine with you just coming into a cross-legged position here, because the focus is on the arms. So if you're going to have your legs extended, you could also sit up on something. And we're going to wrap the right arm over the left. And if you can, you're going to come into eagle arms. Now that could mean you just keep the right arm long and you draw it in, you draw it across the body with the crook of your left, can't remember the word, elbow. If you could be, just give yourself a hug. It could also be that you take your arms out, just take the right wrist over the left and bring your palms around. Anything that begins to give you a nice sensation across the top of the arms. And then you're going to simply fall forwards. So if you're not into a forward fold, take this pose with a straight spine. And we're not flexing the feet, we're just allowing the legs to flop out, even taking them apart a little bit. And we're really looking to curl the spine if you've come into the forward fold version. And we're looking to really feel what's going on around the shoulder blades. So if you've done all of this and you want to explore a little bit more around the pose, you've got the right arm over the left. See if you, what it's like to lean your left shoulder down a little bit and even take your head to the left a bit. And see if you can kind of explore sensation around the right shoulder blade, especially in between the right and the left. And then drop into the breath. I really like this extra tilt to the left. For me, it gives me much more purchase, much more access into the right shoulder and all the tissues around the shoulder blade there. So Rupina, what you could try doing here is keeping your right arm long so that the crook of the left elbow draws the arm across the body so you get more sensation here on the right. Do you see what I mean? And then come forwards if you're going to. But you're using the left arm to pull the right arm across. Yeah. Only if that's right for you. You see what's good. And really breathe now. You change the direction of the breath. Really direct your breath in between the shoulder blades. Just another minute. Stay with sensation, stay with the breath. And coming to your 3 final breaths. And then very gently unraveling your arms and coming up bone by bone. And just take a moment here to feel the body. Feel the rebound. And then we take exactly the same pose with the left arm over the right. So if you're not coming into the full pose, you simply take the left arm into the right elbow and draw the arm across the body. So you're looking for sensation here across the left shoulder. Otherwise, coming into the full eagle arms. And on an exhalation, drop forwards if you're coming forwards. You're already curling in on yourself here. And maybe if you want to experiment with leaning over towards the right, drop the right shoulder, the right ear towards the shoulder. And see if that gives you a little bit more going on around the left shoulder blade, and breathe. Lovely. Stay close. So we've been doing a lot of strength and stamina in the other classes this week, a lot of upper body work. And so these yin poses are just really lovely, unwinding, releasing of tension in the upper body. And in the Saturday Refresh class tomorrow, we will combine the two things, if anybody's coming to that. One more minute here. Stay close to the breath. And taking your 3 final breaths. When you're ready, unfolding your arms and gently coming up bone by bone. And taking a moment to simply feel the rebound. Notice the quality of your breath. And we're going to take a very, very strange pose now that I very rarely teach. It's called penguin, I think. And I don't know, it actually doesn't do much for me, but I know it really gets into the upper arm and shoulder for some people. So have a go. We'll just do it quite briefly. So just have your left leg kind of folded in, maybe a little bit further out, doesn't matter, because we're going to bend up the right knee. Do sit up on something if you need to. Now this is where it gets a little bit weird. You could lean back on your left hand to do this. You're going to bring the back of your right hand inside the ribs. Quite odd. You might wonder why you're spending your Friday night doing these things. And then you're going to press the right knee into the arm. And some people will need to lean back on the left hand. What I like to do is take my left hand to the right knee and draw it in to the knee. And then choose if you want to, where you want to take your head, it doesn't matter. And
I'm finding that really painful in my right wrist.
Oh, I see. I'm just trying to think of an alternative. Is it a tingling or is it just you're not used to? Is it just because your wrist is not used to bending that way? Can you try it for a little while? Or would you like to be given an alternative? Please, I'm just trying to think desperately for an alternative.
Don't worry, I'll have a go, Rebecca.
You know what you could do is this, where you come onto your belly, cross your right arm over the left. Do you remember this one? And then you curl your toes under and you push your head forwards. And if your head doesn't reach the floor, you place your head on a block. So using the weight of your body to press down into your arms. Not exactly the same effect, but you'll still get really lovely release in the arms. I can't remember when we started the pose. Let's just take one more minute. Is anybody getting any sensation here?
I'm getting it all in the wrist as well.
In the wrist, isn't that interesting? Yeah. Well, maybe it's quite good for our wrists.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sitting with it, but I have no other sensation because the sensation in my wrist is so strong.
Oh, that's so interesting. You could do the version I suggested to Karen if you wanted. I actually find it quite a disappointing pose. It's just I have a teacher whose yin classes I really love, and she does this, and I think, well, it must be good then. You know, Bonnie, you know Jose de Groot on Eckhart Yoga. She loves this pose. Okay, let's take 3 more breaths and then release the wrists, release the arm. And I give your wrist a little bit of love. You can see why I don't bring it into a lot of my classes. Okay, and then we'll take that to the other side for better for worse. So you've got your left knee up. Take the back of your left hand if you're going to do it. If you're going to lie on your front, cross the left arm over the right and just propel your weight forwards. Yeah, and either lean into your right hand or take the right hand to the left knee and draw it in. How does that feel on the wrist on this side? Don't worry, just put your thumbs up or down.
Very different. It's nowhere near as intense on my wrist.
So you're right-handed, are you?
Yep.
Yeah. In which case, I think, yeah, same Karen. I think maybe it's quite good to do a bit of wrist work. Maybe we need to do more. There are other things we can do for our wrists in preparation. So I've learned something. Thank you. Next time we'll do it differently. For a couple more minutes, just drop into the breath. And then taking 3 of your final breaths. Before you release from the pose and give your wrists a little bit of love, take a moment to feel sensation in the upper body. Feel the tingling maybe through to your fingertips. Always find to roll your shoulders a little bit. And we're going to come to a final restorative pose. And again, I'm going to give you a couple of options for this pose because I want it to feel nice, especially after these poses maybe that haven't felt so nice. The first option is to have your bolster or your cushion across the mat and have something potentially for your head. And you're going to lie the back of your ribs over the bolster. Your shoulders are unlikely to reach the floor. And some of you will have your head right back on the floor and that's no problem. But some of you may find you want to place your head on a mat and just allow your arms to drop wherever's right. If you need to place anything under your arms for comfort, please do. All we're looking for here is an opening across the chest and a dropping of the shoulders. And then you have the option of coming into butterfly legs, soles of your feet together, knees out to the side. And again, if you have hypermobile hips, please place bricks under your thighs. So that's one version. If that's feeling like too much of a strain on your neck, you can come into reclining goddess with the bolster long, elevated at the end. And you lie your whole spine along the bolster. That's just really lovely as well. Slightly less, it's a softer pose. So this is the final pose. And so you choose which feels best for you and gives you the most spacious chest to breathe into. And you definitely don't want if you're on the long bolster like me, you don't want your chin jutting up, so place something under your head. And then drop any count of the breath. Just allow yourself to enjoy the pose thoroughly. Make sure you're warm enough. I can see some of you got hot water bottles tonight. It's always a good idea. Karen and Rubina, it's become a bit de rigueur to have hot water bottles in this Friday night class. I should have said that you can do that another time if you come again. It's very comforting. We're looking to feel very safe, very secure, very connected. And really drop into the pose with such gentleness, with such love, with such softness. I'm going to read a little poem by Denise Levertov, and it's called Variation on a Theme by Rilke. A certain day became a presence to me. There it was, confronting me. A sky, air, light, a being. And before it started to descend from the height of noon, it leaned over and struck my shoulder, as if with the flat of a sword, granting me honor and a task. The day's blow rang out metallic, or it was I, a bell awakened, and what I heard was my whole self saying and singing what it knew. I can. So you could stay in this pose for longer, especially if you've got the long version of the bolsters. You could finish the practice like this. But if you're feeling that it's time to come out, all you need to do is bring your knees together and roll off to one side. And lie completely flat on the floor. If you're still on your bolster with your knees out to the side, I would recommend lengthening your legs out straight now. And you're welcome to stay resting for as long as you like, or you might like to join me for just a 2-minute seated meditation, just to notice the effects of the practice with nothing else to do. It's completely up to you. You've just got a couple of minutes left. Feeling the air in your nostrils again, just like at the beginning of the class. Simplicity and miracle of a natural breath. Being aware of sensation in the skin, in the palms of your hands, and the soles of your feet. And being aware of sensations in the face. And if you're sitting with me, bringing your hands together in front of the heart space. And taking a full breath in towards the heart. And as you breathe out, bowing your head very gently, chin in towards the chest. Emptying the lungs completely. And using your breath in to lift your head and open your eyes into the evening. Thank you so very much for joining me. Namaste. And do feel free to leave, or I'm here if you